Hi friends, I hope everybody is doing great. I haven't done these videos for a few weeks. I got COVID the third night of Passover, so I was in isolation, locked in a room, literally locked in a room for 8 crumb-free days of Passover and 2 days plus, so 10 days, no, I think for 12 days I was locked in my room in isolation. And I didn't have the worst case of COVID, thank God, but after I proved negative, I had major brain fog. I couldn't focus, tried to pick up my books, my Sfarim, couldn't, even like a few sentences, had to read them many times. I'm like, I can't do this. So feeling now like the cloud is lifting, the fog is evaporating, and thank God, it's doing a lot better. So I hope you missed me a little bit. I certainly missed my viewers and your feedback and your comments, and really appreciate it. I appreciate people who are on the same wavelength, in the sense that you want to get a little bit better by integrating Torah and Judaism in your life. And of course, that is the raison d'etre of life, is to become better and better as we go. Nobody wants to become worse and worse. We always lament our lives when we become worse and worse. I'm not as pretty as I used to be, not as rich, not as strong. So nobody wants to go like in a downward trajectory. We're always wanting to go up. And the best tool to help us, the ladder that gets us to go up in life and to have an evaluation, a proper evaluation of what going up is the Torah. Because sometimes we could think we're going up because we have just, let's say, maybe more money. And we can think we're going up because we got a nose job or this job, and then we think we're going up. That improved us. But the Torah really gives us the true measurement of what going up is. When we leave it to our own devices, all those things I spoke about, money and beauty and other excesses, when we have more of them, we think we're going up. But many times they're detrimental to our well-being, and they're really like a slide that helps us just go down spiritually and really in relation to our purpose in life. Many things are helping us go down, even though we don't understand that, because society condones certain things, such as youth and beauty and money and the aforementioned. So when we have more of those, we think we're doing great. Like the stock market, when you get up and it's all in the green, you think like, wow, life is great. In the red, you're depressed for the day or until, things start going in another color. So the Torah is the roadmap. The Torah is the guide. The Torah is the glasses through which we should examine our lives, whether we're doing right or we're doing wrong. Right now, other than counting days, still how many days it is since I had Corona and measuring, am I like healing slower or better than most people? We're also counting something else, and that is Sfirat HaOmer. From the second night of Passover until the holiday of Shavuot, we are counting 49 days. Reasons in the Torah, but while we are counting those days, and there's a prayer every night that we say, we're also itemizing or acknowledging and trying to improve upon certain character traits. Every night focuses on a different character trait until we ascend and we ascend and we ascend till Shavuot. And what do we get on Shavuot? Our precious Torah, our commandments, the gift, the greatest gift, as I've said many times, as do other rabbis, the greatest gift mankind ever got was the Torah. But it's an effort, and each night and each day is another step on the ladder that calls for self-improvement. Now I can tell you, when I was going through my isolation and locked in quarantine, I would love to tell you that I spent my time wisely. I would love to tell you that. And I could tell you I didn't at all. For somebody who never watches TV in general at all, usually if I do, it's just the news, but I've been an advocate of not watching Netflix and all these things. I have been really on a Netflix Prime Video campaign of watching. My brain couldn't assimilate reading. I started to listen to Torah videos. I couldn't. If the Yetzer Hara got hold of me, or part of the COVID brain fog got hold of me, whatever it was, I was not in isolation studying the Torah, and I wished that I could have done otherwise. but I didn't. And I could tell you how I feel after that indulgence of all those toxic things that I did watch. And I feel like somebody who started on one potato chip who said, I just want to take one. But we all know one thing about potato chips. If you take that first one, you're doomed. And the bottom of the bag is soon visible because you've already taken everything out and eaten it. But you don't feel good at the end of the bag of chips, of the bag of cookies, at the end of many episodes of everything on Netflix that is really not godly. And it's interesting because I remember in the olden days on our Passover Seders or the Jewish holidays, we used to all eat like a lot, but we didn't feel like terrible. We felt stuffed, but we didn't feel sick. In later years, when we all were on like a health campaign of jogging and eating properly, and then all of a sudden you eat things that are toxic on the holidays, a little bit too schmaltzy or fattening or sugary. It's just not in any diet plan except for the self-destruction plan. You feel more sick because your body's not used to all that garbage. I hate to say that about food because food is a blessing, but when you eat things that are not healthy, you feel it more when you're a healthy person. I'm spiritually very on a level that I don't take in information that's not good for my soul, whether it be listening anymore to secular music or watching TV and all those things I haven't done for a long time because I'm on a campaign of spiritual self-improvement. But COVID came, and I haven't stopped with ridiculousness, and my soul feels sick, like as if I ate the chips, the cake, the cookies, and you keep going, and I feel spiritually sick. So much so that I had even wondered, should I do my videos anymore? Should I do them? I've been trying this for a long time, and I've said before I'm never going to stop if I have one viewer, and I agreed with that. But then you have like these feelings of inner feelings. Well, you always have to self-assess. You can't just say something like I won't. You always have to self-analyze, see if you're doing more damage or good, whatever it is. And I was even thinking at that point already, saturated with all this spiritual garbage, and would maybe stop doing these videos altogether. Stop writing my Dvar Torahs. Just, stop. Take a Lisa time. You have limited time. You're already doing a lot. You're taking care of a sick mother. You've sacrificed a lot. I'm talking about me. When I say you, I mean me. So I made my sacrifices, and I've done my mitzvot. I'm burned out from doing good. It's time to just be like a little bit selfish. A Lisa time. Stop having to read so many hours and study the Torah and do this and a Lisa time. How much can you give? I was almost at that point because I wasn't being informed by all the strength and the spiritual sources that always inform me. And, well, you can say, well, maybe all those things are not so powerful if you're ready to flip them on a dime. Except we learn in our writings that you cannot even trust yourself until you're in the grave. Because a person can sin even to the last second. And it says that the righteous fall 7 times. Okay? They rise the 8th. It's their 8th rise, but they fall 7 times. So anybody can fall, no matter what level you're at. Something can pull you in, can spiritually shrink you, distract you. And like I said, I was ready to give up because there's, other rabbis you can listen to, and you don't need to listen to Elisa. And like I said, it's taking time for me, and it causes me stress. And whatever. And then a couple of weeks ago, somebody texted me an article about a rabbi who I listen to all the time, who I never met. A rabbi who is so powerful, all he cared about was helping Jews and Judaism. All he cared about was approaching the individual, letting you know that you matter. Never met him, but I felt that I mattered. So every morning I go on a power walk, almost 2 hours every morning, and I have miles and miles and miles. I could probably have walked to Israel and back already, listening to this rabbi. He was a part of my life. I get a text message in the morning shocking, thought it was a mistake, it's impossible, he was invincible, but I wondered why I hadn't heard from him in a little while, not personally, but on the certain platforms where his things are published. God bless his soul, he passed away. Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein. Used to listen to him all the time on Torah Anytime. His messages resonated. He started a school, like a ranch for girls who were disenfranchised, who had drug problems or bulimia or whatever it is. Girls that felt like they didn't belong. And there was nothing out there that catered to those type of girls. It was all places that were not Jewish, that if they went to recover from whatever the problem was, not kosher food, no Shomer Shabbat, like nothing. So he decided to cater to an audience of people who needed him. A fragment, a section of the Jewish world that really needed him. And you know what? I think that we're all broken. And I think that we're all in rehab, even if we don't go to a ranch or a center. We're all in rehab. As, what's her name? Hay? I forgot the first name, but Hay, she has all those self-help videos. I can't remember the first name. Something Hay. Oh my God. Okay. Whatever. We're all victims of victims. So, as good as we are in life, I think we're all in recovery. For one thing or another. For abusive relationships, for how we grew up, for drugs, or weight, or image, or whatever it is. We are always all in recovery. And that's not just a theory of mine. The fact that we are in this world means that we failed something in a previous lifetime. Judaism does believe in reincarnation. So the fact that we are here means something was wrong, something is wrong. We have to fix it, we have to work on it, we have to improve it. We are in rehab. And maybe it's not always on a physical level, but more often than not, I think it is a spiritual level, because all physical manifestations that things are like that are negative, a sickness or an addiction or whatever it is, they are all reflections and manifestations of some physical, some spiritual problem. We're all in rehab. Back to this rabbi. He died. I was shocked. I was just about to drive somebody to the airport to go to Israel. My mind was in a fog, and it wasn't the COVID fog, it was shock. It was shock. And I said to myself, I am one of his students. Whether I never met him, I'm a student of his. I've quoted him, I've learned from him, I've been emboldened by him, I've been inspired by him. I remember listening to him on one flight that was not a good flight, just from New York to Montreal, and the radar system went down to Montreal, and we're circling and running out of gas, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to cater to my fear, I'm going to throw it up to God. I listened to a shiur by Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein, God bless his soul, and we landed safely, and I just let him guide me through the air and through space and time. If I wanted to stop these videos, I will not stop now, because there is one less voice in the world that is teaching Torah. A powerful, great, blasting voice, like a shofar, really blasting, an amplifier. He was amazing. I'm a crumb, I'm a piece of sand compared to that voice. But if I do it, and you do it, by either spreading videos and someone else does it, maybe we can gather the light, accumulate the light, enough flashlights, not enough, more flashlights. You're a little one, I'm a little one, a little candle, a little spark, and maybe all of that together can maybe equal what we lost. But to stop speaking Torah, that I cannot do now in the face of his death, because I acknowledge that I'm a student of this rabbi who died so young. I think he was 62 years old. I watched his funeral, Zoom, on the internet, Facebook, when I came back from the airport, dropping this person off. And I was bawling my eyes out. I couldn't believe, I couldn't imagine that somebody that I didn't know, that I would cry my heart out like that and feel the wound. Every morning I think about him. Every morning. I actually couldn't listen to his shiurim until today on my power walk this morning. Couldn't listen to him. I couldn't believe that voice isn't here. It pains me. It took a couple of weeks to assimilate this information. But I can't stop teaching Torah. You can't stop learning Torah. A great light was snuffed out. And it's incumbent upon us to keep the light going. If we're big, if we're small, if we're a flicker, if we're a spark, whatever we are, if we're the wood or the flint or the wood gatherer, whatever we can do to keep the light going and growing and to teach Torah, we have to do. We can't just wash our hands of the responsibility. I think that, I don't know what I went through. I'm going to blame everything that I went through on COVID, because I wasn't myself in so many ways. So I really am going to blame a lot of things on COVID. I'm going to blame a lot on the Yetzer Hara, which is the evil inclination that gives you an excuse to walk away from duty. I used to make a joke, don't hate me because I'm dutiful. I really believe in duty. I really believe in living up to the things that you have to do in life. And my silence over the past few weeks, it's interesting. I don't like silence when it comes to Torah. I like silence when it comes to Lashon Hara and talking too much for stupidities and all these things. Then I really like silence. But when it comes to teaching Torah, I can't forgive myself for the silence. So I wanted to do today's shiur, today's article, which I have my blog. It's called The Source Weekly, God's Answers to Life's Hard Questions. So if you don't like to listen, you can at least read. I also am on SoundCloud. If you don't want to watch or read, then you can listen, like while you're doing the dishes or whatever. And I just read the articles that I write on SoundCloud. But I didn't like the silence. I didn't like it. And there's many things that could happen in silence, because everything's competing to fill the void. And like I said, I didn't fill that void necessarily with great stuff. The silence. I was looking at previous articles, like I mentioned in my blog, to give me inspiration today, give me direction. What do I talk about? What do I say? You haven't done this in a while. Go along those themes on a higher level, because hopefully we're always on a higher level. Except I realized that I don't usually write about this week's parasha and more, which is shocking to me, and I'll tell you why. This is my birth parasha. I was born on the holiday of Lag BaOmer, and I was born on the parasha of Emor, and Emor means to say. So it's fascinating for me, because I've been doing Parashat HaShavua for Chabad and in college and for over 20-something years. 30 years. And when I'm looking and flipping through my paperwork and I'm going online doing a word search, Emor came up like twice. I don't write about Emor. I don't talk about Emor. My own birth parasha, where people have their bar mitzvah, they read their parasha in the synagogue. And it made me question and analyze. First of all, Emor means to say, and here I am, a writer. You have nothing to say on the parasha that you were born in? That already is not good. It's a challenge, it's a calling. You got to look deep. I look deep at everything. I think everything is a message from Hashem. I mean, you can't be hysterical over these things. You have to concentrate on your driving, but you have to know when things happen and you're a little bit connected, as I really do try to be. You're getting messages to awaken you, to redirect you, a soft little push here, a little there. Emor, to speak, to say. In this week's parasha, the first sentence has the word to say 3 times. You have to have something to say, but it has to be based in the Torah, and it has to be good and purposeful and meaningful and not destructive and not superfluous and not redundant and for sure not harmful. Speak. But when you have those silences, you have to also find who you are in those silences. I had a few weeks of silence. I found who I was. I watched all this Netflix and did all this ridiculousness, and I feel nauseous and sick. I told you, my soul feels sick. I feel sick. I found who I was in the silence. But we're in a generation where you always have to speak, you always have to assert, you always have to post, you always have to share, you always have to say something. All of us, we always have to say something. We have to know it all. We have to be judgmental and critical and analytical, and we know it all. But in the silence, we really find ourselves and who we are. What was great about Moses? He was a man of no words. He let God take his words and put them through him. He was the messenger of God's word. He said in Shmot, I think it's Shmot 4:10, I have difficulty speaking. I am not the person to give this message to. I'm hard of tongue. Just let somebody else do your job. But God answers Moses there that I'm the one who makes the blind blind and the deaf deaf and whatever. You go and you'll say what I tell you. But that message to Moses is a message to all of us. We have a real person. We have no words. We have no words. We have only the words that God put into our spirit with his Torah. Anything extraneous, the gossip and the slandering and the ridiculousness of the things that we post, whether it's by writing text, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these venues, I can't even keep up with any of them anymore. If they are not godly words, they are not the right words. We are right now counting again the Sfira to Omer, as I said. Every day is meant to improve us. And my message today really is, but what do you do with your silence? What do you fill it with? We're so uncomfortable with silence that we just spew a lot of information, a lot of things, a lot of words. Are you uncomfortable when nobody in the room is talking? And why? Why can't you live with yourself? What's in your spirit that is animating you? What's forcing you to say what you have to say? We always have to filter our words. Like we have the best editor in the world, which we do, which is God. We have to know that every word that we're saying, just let's say God is a screen, okay? We're not allowed to give God an image, but I'm just saying that valuing the things that we do. Just let's say our words are thick or thin or airy or good. Just imagine God is like that screen. What are you pushing through that screen? What's coming out? How much has to be filtered? When you put God as your filter, what comes out on the other side will be very different. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be speaking. I'm sure that I didn't say like the whole lot of what I wanted to say, but the most important part is to take account of what you are saying, to know that every day is a chance for improvement. We're going to be having the holiday soon of Shavuot, and we're going to be Matan Torah. Will you be worthy? Will you be ready? For the past few days, I've been interviewing a few people to work for my mom. And I gave them a few times a trial to see how they're doing. And I'm evaluating. They're here on a job. And at the end of the day, I'm evaluating. Are you worth being here? What are you doing? Are you fulfilling this obligation, doing a little bit more? Are you doing this good enough, better, worse? You're evaluating. I'm evaluating their stay, their purpose here. And that's how God is looking at us. We're here for a limited time. We do get paid if we do things right. Maybe not always in this world, in Olam Haba. But are we making our time here worth it? Precious? Are we doing what we're supposed to do? Or are we just slacking on the job, trying to collect easy, thinking nobody notices, nobody cares, when there is no thing in this world that does not go evaluated and analyzed and judged by Hashem? Sometimes we think we're just doing no harm. So I'm going to go back to last week's parasha, where it says, "You shall not curse a deaf person." That's so interesting because, why not? The same parasha will tell you, don't put a stumbling block before the blind. Okay, that we get because, they're blind, they'll trip and whatever, it's much more deeper than the physical, but don't put a stumbling block. I get that. It makes sense. It's practical. It's physical. I could see them fall. Kind of not nice. Why can't I curse a deaf person? There is no damage done. They can't hear anything. I got it off my chest. I feel better, and I curse them out. And the fact is that that's how we have to understand silence and what we fill the silence with. For them, the world is always silent. They have a silent world. What are we filling the silent world with? Everything we say is like activating Alexa. It makes a difference. You say something, the whole universe is realigning itself because of your curse, because of your words, because of your involvement, because of your gossip. So my message as I'm about to bow out and wish you a Shabbat Shalom is, use your silence wisely, just as the silence between notes makes the music. If there was just note, 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 there would be no music. If there was no delay, if there was no tempo, there would just be chaos. It would be noise, it wouldn't be music. And that is the same for our lives. How are you using the silence? What are you filling your downtime with in your life? Is it the ridiculousness of Netflix and all those shows and the modern music and the screaming, or are you filling your spirit with self-help videos, Judaic videos, Torah, learning, spending time with wise people? Take your silence and do with it what my father always told me to do. Silence is golden. Now turn your silence into a gold mine. Shabbat Shalom.